Hey, what's up everybody, it's Gamers with Reason. Sorry for the huge delay on the Radeon HD 6850. I've done some benchmarks on it already, but for some reason it seems like Battlefield 3 doesn't want to work with me. I need to do one for Dirt 3 pretty soon. I've already done Crysis 2, Skyrim, and Modern Warfare 3, but I must say when it comes to Modern Warfare and the Call of Duty games, it doesn't really matter too much, since the graphics hasn't changed so much over the years, and they can run on most computers, not like just basic computers, but if you're going to build any type of gaming computer, it should run pretty well, But anyways, this video is specifically about Xbox 360s and how you should take care of them, and this is mostly towards the older ones, which kind of wish I made this video earlier because it doesn't matter too much since a lot of people got the newer Xbox 360 Slim. So let's get started. When a lot of people do get Red Rings of Death, they immediately freak out like, oh my gosh, my system is just done. It's over, it's completely fried, it doesn't work anymore, And one thing that a lot of people don't know about, of course, is something quite simple that's quite often the cause of Red Rings of Death, or why it's flashing red rings, is simply because sometimes the power brick, that huge thing, the power brick eventually overheats, and it does start flashing. It does kind of give you Red Rings of Death. And the way you could know this is if you get Red Rings of Death, check on the power brick. This probably has to do with the new. This probably applies to the newer Xbox 360s as well, but I'm not so sure about that. Anyways, check on the power brick if you do get Red Rings of Death, and see if the light on is red. Because if you know what the lights are, usually when your system is not running, it is orange, and usually when you're using it, it's green. But if it's red, then that simply means you need to let that thing cool down. Simply unplug it from the wall. Don't just unplug it from your Xbox 360. Unplug it from the wall, and come back in 10 or 15 minutes. I would wait 15 minutes just for in case, depending how long you were playing. And it should work perfectly after that. If not, then it might be the cord, the power cord, and if you've had a bunch of old computers laying around your house or anything like that, you should be able to find some power cords that will work on it. I got probably like 6 or 7 or more, and on my first system, when that one got Red Rings of Death, I just switched out the cords and just worked. Had no problem. It just started working instantly. So if any of that happens, or if you do get Red Rings of Death, try those methods, and if they don't work, then it's probably something serious. If it doesn't work after the light's red, then you probably need to wait longer, of course. Anyways, another thing you need to know on how to take care of your system is a lot of people say that in some ways it's better to leave your system standing straight up. But in reality, in a lot of ways, I would certainly say laying it flat down is probably the best. It helps it last longer and makes it a lot less likely to get Red Rings of Death. This is kind of, let's just say it's quite complicated. Towers, you don't have to they don't really, just desktops and computers in general. They usually stand up. But this is kind of something that's specifically the Xbox 360, and you'll find out why. If you don't know what the motherboard is, it's basically where everything gets hooked up to, and it's kind of like, just the mother brain of everything, The main brain is probably the CPU, and for graphical performance on the games, it's the GPU. So, anyways, just imagine this flat motherboard right here. Well, anyways, there's 2 really important things on it. There's the CPU, and there's the GPU. Okay? And there's a stuff called thermal paste. It's pretty much thick like glue, a little bit like glue, but more towards something like toothpaste. Anyways, you usually have it like around it or on top of it. And what this thermal paste simply does is it transfers the heat from the CPU or the GPU to the heatsink. You see what I mean? It's kind of like let's just say, vehicles. Vehicles in general have things that help them stay cooled down. Because let's just say if we didn't do those things, they probably at any moment would just randomly blow up or something. There's got to be some way for it to release that heat. Kind of like your house. If you got those things on your rooftops that have holes through them, usually that's basically releasing the heat from your attic, because that's usually the hottest place in your entire house. That and the garage. The garage seems to get quite hot. Anyways, back to the point. So it's like that, and just like I said, imagine it's standing straight up, and of course there's the CPUs and the GPU, or the CPU and GPUs, and then there's thermal paste, and then there's actual heat sinks. Just imagine it's like a sandwich. 2 slices of bread, a piece of cheese in the middle. Barely put any pressure on it. Just lightly put pressure on it. And as you would notice, if you try to do this, eventually the cheese starts slipping down. You know what I mean? Eventually it just starts oozing down. And just, you know, and that's just it falling down from weight and, you know, just gravity, of course. But, you know, just imagine a little liquid or something like toothpaste. You know, if you put that on, like, if you get, like, things like that around your drain or your sink or something, you notice it eventually oozes down, you know. So it pretty much oozes down. And the thing about the CPUs and GPUs on the Xbox 360, the older ones at least, around the CPU and the GPUs, they have these tiny little bitty chips all around them, basically surrounding all of them. So it's kind of like, you know, just laying out all around it. Anyways, those things are very sensitive. I'm not kidding you. I mean, in a way, it's like having like 10 backup generators for a power plant, or for some place that is very, I guess you could say, power demanding, or just something that uses power, you know, like a powerhouse, or let's just say a business, you know. And those things is what keeps the whole place running, because with normal electricity, you know what I mean, that goes underground, it's not enough, you know. And plus those generators are for backup, of course. And they recycle through each other. They have some sort of way that they do that. But anyways, think of it this way. If they get wet, what happens? They stop working, of course. So that's, and it just malfunctions. It makes everything just, it's like dominoes. You knock one down, it just knocks them all down. And so eventually the thermal paste starts falling down and oozing down. And what happens is, it simply hits one of those little chips, and then just bam, hit red rings of death. Just instantly. It's just that simple. And in a lot of ways, I guess you could say, it's kind of ridiculous. But, you know, people didn't really see this coming. Kind of wish Microsoft would have done something better for that, but, you know, really, I respect them, and there's probably some really good reasons for that. And I gotta say, compared to most consoles and just PC game in general, the Xbox 360 doesn't actually run that hot compared to a lot of other things, just say. And, anyways, as I was saying, so it's really sensitive. And that's why when you lay it flat down, it's a lot less likely to get red rings of death, you know? Just imagine the sandwich, laying flat down. If you have melted cheese, let's say you have melted cheese, and you have it on top, and you put just some light pressure, you notice that it starts pushing cheese on the sides. And it's just around, it pushes all around just a little bit, you know what I mean? Just a little bit, all the way around. And on all sides, balanced, you know what I mean? Balanced, that's the main thing. And it doesn't go too much to one side, and it doesn't just start piling up over here. It just lays it evenly on all sides. And that's why laying your Xbox 360 flat down really helps a lot, you know? Because it doesn't get too much on one side, which eventually, yeah, it would hit one of those chips and just bam, you get red rings of death, like, just quick. And that's why it's random like that at times. But also, sometimes if you play for too long, or for like days and days straight, and then you turn off your system, a couple of days later, or like within 24 hours later, you know, you turn on your system, red rings of death. It's probably because your system itself was really hot when you turned it off, and it took a long time for all that heat to get on. While it was doing that, it was probably kind of liquefying or melting the thermal paste inside the Xbox 360 a lot. So, and that's why when you put thermal, like if you know how people fix red rings of death with thermal paste and everything. One of the things they have to do is make sure that they don't put too much or too little on it. And that's one of the main things. You got to make sure you don't put too much or too little on it. That's one of the things. And anyways, so that's that. Another thing you can do that would help a lot on your Xbox 360 last longer. It's something kind of simple but kind of weird, but it actually does help a lot. Is simply if you're playing the Xbox 360 in HD on an HD TV, and you're probably using HDMI, you might want to go to component. When you're playing on the Xbox 360 in HD, of course, you know, the component and HDMI is not too different, really. You know, they're both HD, they're both high resolution, they're both great picture and great coloring and everything. And really, just, it seems like, you know, there's probably a lot of reasons. It's probably like one of those things that has to do with, you know, just too much processing on something small, you know. Since the HDMI cord is just really small compared to using all of them component cords. You know, the red, the green, the blue for video, and then the red and white for audio, you know. And, but it really does help a lot, actually. Oh yeah, and there's, no, you don't use the but, it actually does help. It's actually been proven by a lot of people, a lot of times. You could ask, I mean, quite a few people that have even the original Xbox 360, or even like just like the second one or something, or just, you know, just simply one of the earlier ones, still have theirs working. And a lot of people are like, man, you are so lucky. Man, how did your Xbox 360 last so long? And usually the person will say, I don't know. You know, and if you ask them, are you using a component? Your answer is likely to be yes. You know, and like I said, it's probably like one of those things that has to do with the fact that HDMI is so small, has to provide such a high bit rate. It's such a tiny little thing. Just a tiny little thing, you know what I mean? Full audio, full video, you know, it could do surround sound and everything. And, you know, just, there's something small like that. And the component is just balanced, and it's not too much on one thing. It's like spread out, you know. Instead of like 500% on this, it's probably something like 80%, probably 100% on everything, or 80%, somewhere around there. And you know, in a lot of ways, it's a lot more efficient. Of course, everything nowadays is getting smaller and everything, but sometimes we got to pull back just a little bit, you know, just to help ourselves and possibly, you know, just help our stuff last longer, really. And that's definitely one thing I will admit that does help. I've been using component, but the main reason for that is because well, pretty much it seems like all of them, all capture cards really use component. None of them use HDMI, which is not that bad, you know, but I kind of wish for HDMI, but it's okay, I can't really complain. But I will admit, my Xbox 360, you've seen pictures and videos of it, and you would just freak out or just laugh if you freaking saw it now. It just looks ridiculous. I've done too many mods for it. Nothing to let it go, of course, just mostly fans. It has 5 blue backlit fans. It has the 2 fans that were in the back on that video weren't blue LED backlit, and these ones are, so. And of course there's the 3 fans on top as well, of course. And, you know, my system has lasted like 5 years. It's like 5 years old. And I must say, one reason is probably because I've been using, even though it's an HDMI system, you know, I've been using component, and I kid you not, if I put in HDMI at all, just plug it in, just like temporarily for just seconds or something, put in HDMI, I'll get signs on my system for getting the E74 error. And usually the signs for getting E74 error is that you'll get weird red lines or red dots or red squares on your screen. And it's like, oh crap, why is it doing this? And I just did it just instantly, just randomly, you know. When a friend came over, I had 2 Xbox 360s that, no, it was one my friend brought his. So I was going to hook up my system over here, so then I could just play over here, and then he could play over there. Since there's my chair over here, so he could just kick back and relax, and then I could just be sitting in this chair and just look over here or look over here. Yeah, I started having that flashing on my screen. You know, not flashing, but you know, had the red lines or dots on it. It was really strange, but you know, just shortly after switching component, it just worked perfectly again. You know, my system has never really had any red rings of death problems, at least not this one, and you know, I must say a big part of it is probably component alone, but it definitely helps a lot to have your system laying flat down. You do get a little bit more airflow having it straight up, but is it really worth it? Because if you lay your system straight up, you're kind of asking for rings of death. It's like, yes, ooze down and hit those chips. That was really weird, but yeah, that's the best way to take care of your Xbox 360. Oh, and one more thing before I forget. If you have a decent sized hard drive, pretty big one, one thing that'll help a lot, in a lot of ways, or a couple at least, is to install the games on your hard drive. If you, you know, when you get a new game, used to it was Y, I think it's X now to press for game options, but anyways, when you're in the dashboard, and you know where you go and where you go to press A to play the game, it'll say at the bottom of the screen or somewhere, it'll say game options next to a button. Either it's X or Y, depending if you're like playing offline or online. If you're online, I believe it's X. And if it's offline, it's Y. Depending, you know, what update you have on the system. But anyways, what I was going to say was, if you install the game on the hard drive, basically it'll make your people, this is one of the things that some people think it is kind of stupid, but they're like, oh, so you won't need a disk anymore? It's like, dude, if it was like that, Microsoft would get sued. They would get in a lot of freaking trouble because people just go to Blockbuster and just rent a game and then keep it permanently. I mean, it would be almost like piracy. It pretty much would, because they'd be getting a game for super cheap, or they just go to GameStop, buy it, install it on the hard drive, take it back to GameStop, like, I didn't like the game, and just get their money back, and basically got a free game. But anyways, what happens after you install the game on the hard drive is that it reads from the disk after you load the game for just a few seconds. Modern Warfare 3 and a couple, I guess you could say, kind of graphical games. I'm not saying Modern Warfare 3 has really good graphics. I'm just saying some games kind of do take a while. But anyways, most games, at least older games, it'll just read from the hard drive for like just a few seconds. Just a few seconds, and then it'll just read from the hard drive after that. And believe it or not, it actually speeds up your game a lot. The loading, I mean, just, you know, just the game in general, it speeds it up a lot. You know, if you are on Halo, any of the Halo games, except Halo 3 ODST, if you go into a custom game with your friends or just by yourself, you'll notice that the game or the map will load up just a lot quicker. I'm not kidding you. If you do that, it'll show you a huge difference. You know, and if you talk your friends into doing it, you could load your games a lot faster. And I gotta admit, yeah, I know it takes a long time to load that stuff up. And of course, it helps other games load faster as well. But generally, that helps your system because it helps it run better because it doesn't have to read from the disk. It doesn't use so much power reading from the running the disk drive. So it helps your system run cooler. So if you do all this stuff, I can almost promise you that your system will last a lot longer. It certainly helped me like a lot. That's why my system has lasted 5 years without really even just a flash or a glimpse of red rings of death. You know, the closest thing I've got was, like I said, those red lines or squares or spots on the screen, and that was just from changing from component to HDMI just for a second. You know, and I changed back to component, no problems. So it didn't permanently affect the system or affect it in a way that, oh, it's going to start getting red rings of death or it's going to get close to it. So I hope this helps you guys, and I would say most of this will definitely help the newer Xbox 360s as well, at least installing the game on the hard drive, and probably the power brick thing if you get a flash of red rings of death. You know, I can't say that laying your system flat down will really help it a lot. It probably will in a few ways, but but not really so much because I'm pretty sure that the CPUs and GPUs on the Xbox, last time I checked, and from the pictures I saw, they don't have those little chips around the CPU or the GPU, and that's good that they didn't put them around there again, because that's just asking for the rings of death. But anyways, thanks for watching this video, guys. Please comment, rate, and please subscribe. I could really enjoy your support, and this has certainly helped me. Thanks you guys for watching my videos. Certainly helped me a lot, and see you guys in the next video.